We have question 5, and it's asking to use a pivot table here in the first question. So we can determine the average quarterly sales and number of employees for different quality ratings. So you know that you're going to create the pivot table for these three variables. Just make sure that the cells are not merged. So I can insert the pivot table here without a problem. So to create a pivot table, you go to the data tab and you select everything. Insert pivot table, it's already selected. So you show where you want it to be. See if it could be here. Okay, I'll just create it here, for example, and then I can move it. Okay, so just to remember, we have quality sales, employees, and quality rating. So the quality rating could be our role, and then the other two, number of employees and quarterly sales. You can drop them here. And the employees, for example, something you can select could be the gender. Okay, so you know that you see that it's gonna ask here for the average. So instead of the sum, you can just go like to field settings and then change it for average. Okay, so it's already giving us all the amounts. Just see if I can paste it here. Okay, perfect. So we already have the amount here. You're gonna do average for excellent. Just make sure you're selecting like from the right row. So this is the average, and then we have good, and then equals 4. So number of customers, the same thing. You just get it from the pivot table. Okay, so here you have conduct an appropriate hypothesis test to determine if there is evidence or a difference in the average quarterly sales across quality rating. So the significance level alpha is going to be equal 1. So you want to be here like the difference between the quality sales and quality rating. So what we're going to do is go to the data, and then we can copy these two columns. It's better to copy and paste them here because sometimes they're not like in the right order from the data. So just to be sure here, quality sales and quality rating. So these are the columns I'm gonna copy. Actually right next to each other, but I'm gonna copy so I can sort them. Okay, Control C. You can paste them anywhere. So it's very important to copy the labels as well, so you know what's happening here. One way that you can do this to separate this amount into poor, like all the poor, all excellent, all good, is to just go to sort, and this is one way to do it. It doesn't need to be this way. So I'm gonna separate them and create different columns. I'll put the excellent here, and then the good, and then the poor, and the third one. So I'm gonna copy all the amounts that are excellent. Okay, so these are all the amounts that are excellent. One thing that I like to do is to change the color. So this way I'm sure that I'm selecting the right ones. And then I'll copy just the good ones. here. It doesn't change anything if you change the colors, just more error proof. And then you get the four ones. And then paste right next to it. Remember that we have all the labels as well. So now what we can do here is to create the Anova analysis. So for that, we're gonna have to select this data. So we select everything, all three of them, and it's already here, but like you can go to data and then data analysis, and you search for the Anova single factor. Okay. So the input range is already here. Oh, actually. Okay, let me select again. And then the output is where you want it to be. So it could be anywhere here. So this is already giving you the ANOVA. And then you're just gonna get the amounts from here and you can see if there is evidence or not here and the difference of quality sales and quality rating. So the test statistics is already here. F, and then you get your p-value. One thing is whenever you have an E, it's usually like the amount is like very low. So to be sure, something that you can do here is to set it to number. See, so you know that this amount is very low, so that's very good. Well, depending on what you prefer, and then you have the conclusion. So the conclusion is gonna be according to the p-value. So if the p-value here is like is low, is lower than the alpha, so it means that there is evidence. But if this p-value was very high, like for example, before that we had you could see here, for example, 5, oh, it's 5. So this p-value is very large, so there's no association between the two variables. However, like if you pay attention, that's not really 5. Because you had like 0, 0, 0 because of the E, which is 0. So there's no, so it's not the same thing here. So you can conclude that yes, there is evidence of association because of the amount of the p-value. So that's our question. It's very easy. The best way to do, you don't need to copy the values to do the pivot table. You can just create a pivot table from there. Of course, that's what we did actually because we use like the column gender. But here it's best to copy the columns just so you can sort them. And there are other ways to do it as well, but that's the way I prefer to do.